Her son died. Her husband died. Her mom had an illness. And now she's thinking about relocating to a different country. She relocates to a different country while going through all of that, only to find out that the job that she applied for, she got, was closed as soon as she landed. We interviewed a young lady named Janet, and I cannot tell you how much we got out of it. I'll make sure to post it for you guys also. But here are some lessons that I picked up that I want to give you guys from that interview. Number one, I asked her, how do you keep moving when you have all of that turmoil happening in your life? Think mentally, I have to now cope with and understand that my son died and my husband died. And here's something that she said in it was I had to decide if I was going to keep moving or not. She mentioned that her husband, it just destroyed him once his son died, which was her son. She said I had to decide if I was going to keep moving or if I was going to just stay still. Now, it sounds heroic, it sounds easy, but we know moving through grief can be long, exhausting, hopeless. The second lesson that we learned from her was I want to go where I feel happy. Now, she didn't mention that things were going to be perfect in her new land, which was Panama. She just said, I want to go where I'm happy. What does that mean? Life is too short to always think that you're going to have every single duck in the row. Yes, you want to. That you're going to have everything be perfect. I wish it was so. But she described she felt happy because of how she was treated and the simplicity of how people lived in Panama. She told us a story that she went on a bus, and on this bus, she got to a place, and the place was very, very meager. She looked in the building and she saw a couple families living inside of the building. And she said, as she approached the building with the tour guide that went with her, a lady came out with a plate. And the lady presented her the plate as if it was a Thanksgiving Day meal, except it was beans and rice. This lady gave all she had to a stranger because something in her was saying, I want to be a blessing. I want to give. I want to still show gratitude and kindness to this person who I do not know. And she mentioned the lady, her, and the tour guide, they all danced throughout their night. They had fun. Now, here's the kicker. The lady didn't have much, but the lady offered her, if you need a place to stay, you can stay with us. Go where you feel happy at. The third lesson is the one that really, really hit home for me. It's gonna hit home for you too. If your plans don't go the way you want them to go, it doesn't mean you can't create a new plan. She mentioned when she got to Panama that she had an offer to do teaching. And when she got to Panama, it just didn't pan out. The school had closed. So she mentioned walking up and down the street, aiming to apply for a job in a country where she did not know and the language that she did not speak. So let's remember, or in case you didn't know, because I didn't say so, she speaks English. The land that she lives at is predominantly Spanish speaking. And at the time that she came, it was more so Spanish speaking, not a lot of English speaking. So she's doing this in the land she doesn't know, a language she doesn't speak, and she's looking to get a job. She ends up getting a job, and she ends up creating two businesses. The first business she creates, and she finds out got a good business idea. They need it here, but something else hits her. She has to make another plan. She has her car shipped from the States and doesn't realize that the parts that would be in the States are not the parts that would be in Panama. So now she has to figure out, what do I do now? Because I'm not going to get the parts. It's only so long I can keep catching airplanes back and forth to the States to get the parts. And now she has to make a new plan. She makes a new plan. She starts another business where now she's teaching people how to speak English. And one of her other teachers is a Spanish teacher. So it's working out perfectly, only to get to the second year mark, and she cannot manage her partner. She kept having things happen over and over again, so she just had to change the plan. But I asked her this. I said, "How come you didn't give up? How come you just did say this is not for me?" She said, "Number one, I wasn't gonna go back home a failure, and number two, things are going to happen." And now, here's the cool part. Now she house sits for a living. She goes to people's homes who are leaving for a little while. She house sits. And here's the cool part about the house sitting. What she also does now is she's 3 years out of booking for that. So she has this year booked, the second year booked, the third year booked, and now with that, she's good for 3 years. She doesn't have to worry about where she's gonna live, paying any rent, uh, buying any food. All she has to worry about is her car expenses, which she mentioned is about less than $100 a month for gas and things like that. So she has all these things happen to her. She has her husband dies, her son dies, her mom dies. She applies for a job, she gets it, and then when she gets it, she lands, and now the job is not available anymore. She starts walking the town to see what other jobs she can apply for as a teacher. She gets turned down a lot, and then she finally gets a spot. Less than a year, she quits that. Then she goes for another journey, and in 2 years, she ends up closing the business that she built. So that's a lot to stomach. It's a lot to endure for anybody. She does all of that, but the thing that she said was, I wasn't gonna go on a failure. But what I took out of that is sometimes you have to be willing to keep going. Sometimes you have to be willing to adjust. Sometimes you have to be willing to just say, hey, if it's for me, I'm not gonna stop. I'm not gonna be stopped. Now, Janet is someone who you would say is an overcomer, a conqueror, and someone who doesn't quit. With this story, what do you get out of it? Where are you playing it safe, or where are you saying, hey, I should be doing more, but I'm nervous. I want to make this step. I want to make a move. I want to, yeah, maybe change or get into a relationship, but I don't have the confidence yet. Maybe it starts with one step. So I'm going to challenge you to take one small step towards whatever you feel is pulling at your heart. One small step. Doesn't have to be major. You don't even have to announce it. Take one small step. And I want you to let me know what that step is. What will you do with this next season of your life? Be good. Be great.